Hi guys, this is Stuart of SBC Guitars and welcome to my tiny workspace on the front of my boat. It's been a while since I recorded anything. I have been spending many months, I've been doing a lot of boat work recently, and when I haven't been doing boat work I've been doing really tedious guitar stuff. So I haven't quite managed to sum up the energy to actually record anything when you're just sat there like sanding out tiny scratches for hours and hours. This is my new Cygnus left-handed build and I really like how it's coming together, but it has some interesting little quirks, so I thought it'd be a good subject for a video. So tell you a little bit about this guitar. It's a bolt-on. The body is all UK sourced woods. The neck is torrefied maple with an ebony top, so the neck's much more exotic. And it's got these little feature bits of dyed orange tulip wood, 2mm tulip wood everywhere, which I think is really cool. And because this is quite woody, I've decided not to stain it or anything, because it's got some really nice natural woods in it. I think the orange just adds a bit more flair to it. I always try and avoid doing guitars that are really woody, because if you go to a guitar show that's got quite a lot of boutique guitar builders, it's always just a sea of woody guitars, like just there's a beige guitar, there's a beige guitar, there's a beige guitar, and I think it's hard to stand out from that. And I think people don't necessarily, unless it's a really stunning piece of wood, people don't necessarily like it. With this one, I really like, so I've talked about this before, I love the mashup between aesthetic and ergonomics. My body shapes are designed to be ergonomic-ish with a aesthetic in of themselves, and particularly with the Cygnus, it's designed to be a body shape that isn't necessarily super metal and it isn't necessarily super traditional either. It's like it's designed to be played however you want to play it, but just ultimately to push the user to think outside of the box of what they play and how they play it, because there's a massive onus on a guitar to, you know, you've got to want to pick it up and play it, and that will drive what you want to play on it. And so like there's a builder, Ulrich Teufel, who I think is an amazing builder and a really interesting builder, because he always builds his guitars with that in mind of how it of seeing what people do with it when they pick it up and they play it, and seeing how that drives their how the guitar is also a muse in a way. Now with this one, I've had a lot of fun playing with like organic and inorganic shapes. So I think the neck itself is a very inorganic shape in a way. There's lots of inorganic lines, you've got all of the, you know, the orange going through it, you've got the frets themselves, you've got this big solid binding, lots of stripes and bits and pieces, and then you've got this slightly organic shape in the neck, and I think that's cool. And then as a juxtaposition to that, this body, I've gone with really big really big black lines on the front in that sort of slightly resin river thing there, and then the back is this gorgeous bit of spalted beach from London, which has got loads going on in it as well. And then the only real organic line in it is just this veneer line in between the body and the top. The top is a sycamore burl, sort of resin pour top that was done for me by my friend Lewis at LT Custom Guitars. And I've had this top for a few years, and I thought it was about time that I used it, and it's a nice. So I've done an ebony Cygnus as well, and I've done them kind of as a pair, so a left and a right. And I think that this is a nice complement to that. When I got this top done, he originally sent me some pictures of it, just basically with the burl, sort of, you imagine that's the burl, then butterflied so that they matched each other, and then that would be where the resin is poured in. And I said, that's cool, but could you flip one of them so it's like that, so that the resin is much closer together, you don't have any big patches of resin, and it has a bit more of a sort of semi-organic shape to it. And when I was just looking at these things all in combination, it just felt right to me. So that's why I've picked them. However, there is some problems with it as well. These materials they veer very, very sharply between being like really dense and really soft. So for the top, for example, you've got the resin itself is dense, obviously. The wood is much softer, so as soon as you put any finish on it, for one thing, the resin resists it and the wood just absorbs it. So you've got to be careful about that. But also there's patches within it, so some of the burl bits are really soft and some of it's like fine. And again, the spalted beech, which I've talked about before, I'm sure, spalted beech, you've got patches in here where it hasn't really touched the spalting, the fungus that causes the spalting hasn't really touched the beech yet, and they're pretty dense still. But these patches here are really soft, like really, really soft. So you've got to be so careful on how you work with them. So I generally hand sand everything. Now, yeah, I'm on a boat, my power is limited, so of course I hand sand things anyway. But actually, even before I lived on a boat, I hand sanded all of these sorts of woods, because I never really got on well with like radial sanders and things like that, because I found with woods like this, where you get, and I use a lot of these sort of woods, where you get like a softer patch and a harder patches, it would just, the softer patch would end up just being like that, like an old Victorian step. So I've always just used a block and a sandpaper and just sat there for hours and hours, and it's really boring, but then you don't get any divots in it. Same for the top, so that's a similar sort of thing. I've sanded this up to about 600 grit, so the higher the number, the finer the grit. And then last night, as I was finishing it up, I've poured sanding sealer into it, and I've given the top a good generous coat. The body, I literally was there like pouring it in, spreading it around, letting it soak in, pour it in, spread it around, let it soak in. Sanding sealer is great because it essentially does a fine grain fill. It will soak in and it will harden up, and then you can go back in with like a bit of 400 grit once it's all dried. And once it's all dried, it'll feel rough because you'll have all of the grain will have raised, any patches that aren't as good will become obvious, and you can just go back in with a bit 400 grit or 600 grit and just sand it. And get it all back, and then you can keep doing the sanding sealer if you want, and it will get to a nicer and nicer finish, which is probably what I'm going to do with it today. The other thing I'm going to do, because I hate myself, is I'm going to sand this top up probably to about 3000 grit. So this top is going to go insane, and the main reason I'm going to do that is because the resin itself, it shows fine little scratches really easily, so I'm going to sand that really fine and just get rid of those fine scratches and just bring everything up to a really nice natural sheen, and then hopefully today I can start putting that together. which would be good. I have got Birmingham Guitar Show in a couple of weeks, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm doing it with the Boutique Guitar Collective. We've got an amazing group this year. We've got a really diverse mixed group for the show. We've got Collision Devices, who have a couple of other pedal builders with them as well. We've got Cool Amps, we've got Brilliant Amps, we've got loads of great guitar builders, myself included. LT Custom Guitars as well, Maybury Guitars, I've got Sempiternal Guitars and Franklin Guitars. So we've got a really nice spread on the guitar builder side, as well as having some awesome boutique amps. On the guitar builder side, you've got like myself on the sort of more higher end, higher gain kind of thing, and then Lewis, LT Custom Guitars, and Josh at Sempiternal both do quite high end, more metally, telly style guitars. Jason Maybury Guitars is a bit more retro meet art guitar, which is cool. I think I probably cross into art guitars a bit as well. And then I've got Franklin Guitars, who are a bit different in a way, because Chris does really cool, almost like really high-end studio guitars, but they're always a little bit unique and quirky. So yeah, really nice array. That's at the UK Guitar Show in Birmingham, and that's coming up real soon, real soon. And on that note, I'm going to get to work. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this slightly rambling video. I hope it's been useful to some people. Let me know if you like this format. I don't tend to do sort of proper how-to videos, but I don't mind sharing my knowledge equally. I've been doing this for 7 years, and I work with a lot of woods that I feel like a lot of other guitar builders don't necessarily work with, and I think that's probably interesting to some people. Thanks for watching, guys.